So this is probably going to be my most controversial video to date. Talking about tipping. For the most part, I'm against it. I'm not against the concept entirely, but we need to work on this somehow. Now here's the deal. Basically, came across a list of differences between America and Europe, and tipping was one of them. And they mentioned we pay food service people a working wage, and so we don't have to tip them. That's the Europeans talking. Americans, we pay less than minimum wage because we're expecting tips, or they're expecting tips. Seems wrong. Now, so tipping, supposedly, look up on the internet. Some sites will say it stands for to ensure prompt service. Others will say to ensure proper service. I always heard prompt in the past, but I'm seeing proper now, so I'm thinking this is a new thing that's come up. So supposedly it started there to be a little bowl there with a tips sign on it, and people would come in and they put their money in, and the host or maitre d' or whoever would keep an eye on it. And if he noticed you putting a larger amount of money in, a table would open up for you sooner to ensure prompt service. Makes sense. Now somehow it stopped going to the maitre d', it started going to the wait staff, waiters and waitresses. And I'm assuming that's where somehow it got switched over to proper service, because again, they don't speed things up any, they just serve your food. So it's proper service, not prompt service anymore. I'm assuming that's how the new change, why sites are saying proper service now instead of prompt service. So instead of TIPS, I think it should be PSIT. To ensure proper service, no. Proper service ensures tips. And that's been my argument all along, is why I'm against tipping. It's supposed to be automatic for some reason now. And again, they pay them less, they need your money, they need the tip money. The original purpose was good service gets good tips. Bad service gets no tips. And I brought this up, and I know people who've waited tables said, well, they're going to spit on your food next time you're in there. Let me tell you something. You spit on someone's food, not only don't you deserve a tip, you don't deserve a job. End of argument. Now there's all sorts of arguments why you could get bad service and should still give a tip. Maybe they're having a hard day. They just had 50 customers yelling and screaming who all left just before you came in the door. They're having a bad day. Okay, except I worked fast food when I was in high school. Back in those days, counter work of any kind did not get tips, except maybe at a bar. Coffee shops, you didn't get a tip. Fast food, you didn't get a tip. We had some horrible, horrible, horrible people come through. Wait on them. They leave. Next customer in line. Plaster a smile on your face and be nice to them, because that was expected of you. You didn't get this argument of, well, I just served a bad customer, so I'm allowed to serve you. No. You were expected, even without tips, you were expected to be nice to customers. And you didn't treat one customer badly because the previous customer was a jerk. Closest thing to a tip I ever got was the next customer showing some sympathy for me. And usually it would be along the lines of, boy, some people are jerks, aren't they? And I'd agree, yes, they are. No money, just a little sympathy. That's all we expected. Still food service, still allowed to be paid a crummy wage. Tips weren't expected. So, yes, when I say I expect good service if I'm going to give a tip, I have a reason for it because I worked for no tips for a long time, and no matter how good the service I gave, no tip. Now, there are a few questions I got about this. So, some places have an automatic tip, automatic 15% gratuity. I'm fine with that as long as I know it in advance. Don't put it in fine print on the back of the menu. Put it where I can see it. Let me know coming in. Because some of these places you go in, you pay for your food, you pay your automatic 15% gratuity, and if you don't know about the gratuity, you might leave an extra tip. So you're paying more than you're supposed to, or more than you're expecting to, because they didn't advertise that they're charging you extra. And if you're in a hurry, you don't necessarily look at your bill and go through and let's see, I ordered this for this, and it adds up. You don't do the math necessarily if you're in a hurry. So like I said, I am not against the automatic 15% gratuity as long as we know about it in advance. And I expect to be able to get up and walk out if I see, you give me a menu, it says automatic 15% gratuity, I should have the right to just walk away before I order if I don't want that. Might think I'm a jerk, but like I said, I want to see the service before I pay the extra money. That's me. Now, I think, how can they justify that? And the only argument I can think would be the wait staff makes more money when we're busy. Okay, sounds good, except what other job are you allowed to do that in? If I start a landscaping service and we go out and we're on a job and it starts to rain, I have two choices. I can send my workers home and take them off the clock, or I can say, let's wait and see if the rain stops. They're still on the clock, I'm still paying them. There is no, I pay you less if it's raining because I want you to be available but you're not working type thing going on. It is, you're paying full time or not. That's basically what restaurants are trying to do with this 15% gratuity is we're hiring our waitresses and we're going to pay them more when we're busy but less when we're not busy. And, well, we're not getting the work out of them if we don't have customers. Well, serve better food, you'll have more customers, or get work for them. Make them clean the dining room. Make them do stuff. This whole I'm a waitress and I'm only going to wait tables and that's it. No, you're a employee. We have something that needs cleaning, clean it. And then you can pay them a regular wage, a living wage, without having to do this extra gratuity. Now, single guy, going to a restaurant, I go in, I sit down, they give me a menu. Come back a little later, ask if I want to order, I order. A little while later, they bring me my food. About halfway through the meal, someone comes by, asks me if everything's all right, and then they come with the bill. Depending on the restaurant, I either go up and pay at the cashier, or I give the card to the waitress. Waitress cashes it and comes back to me. That is about 5 minutes interaction that I've had with the waitress, total, for the meal. Now, tipping rates, again, most people say 15 to 20%. Used to be 10%, I remember. Now people say it should be more. On a $20 meal, which is about the average cost of a meal at a sit-down restaurant now, I'm paying about $3 for 5 minutes worth of interaction. On a busy night, after an hour of work, the waitress is getting $60 an hour. 5 minutes interaction with everyone. Everyone gives her $3. $60 an hour. That's pretty good. In fact, some people would look at it and say, what? That's ridiculously high. And so, again, the tipping itself is, I usually tip lower than the 15 to 20% because it is so ridiculous. You know. Anyway, I skipped over talking about this automatic 15% though. That's basically its commission. When you're busy, we get more customers, you get 15% of what we charge them. When we're not busy, you don't. Do we really want waiters and waitresses on commission? Or not? I mean, it does encourage them to be nicer to the customers because they want people to sit in their station, etc., etc. They can make more commission. Except for, again, we go back to this whole argument of, well, you should tip anyway whether they're nice or not. That's my biggest problem with the whole tipping thing is it's expected for doing your job. And you don't have to do it well, you don't have to be nice as you do it, it's still expected for some reason. And the entire world, well, the American world at least, people will argue with you, you shouldn't make the waiter wait, it's a public service they're giving basically. Good manners, being nice, I mean that should all be part of the job description. And if they aren't doing it, they shouldn't get extra money. Now, some places, they pool their tips. This one I'm really against. Because, go to a restaurant, sit down, waitress A waits on me, she's a horrible waitress. Horrible, horrible. I walk out without tipping her. I pay for my meal, I don't just walk out, but I don't tip her. She hates me. No problem. I go back because it's a good restaurant still. Sit in waitress B's station. She's a fabulous waitress. Deserves extra money. Sure, I will tip well. I do tip well for fabulous service. Oh, but at this restaurant, waitresses share tips. So waitress A, who is a horrible waitress, is getting part of the tip that I gave waitress B because waitress B is a great waitress. I'm against that. Waitress A should not benefit because someone else is nicer than her. Waitress A should learn to be nice to the customers. Oh, but the food was real good. Really? What did the waitress have to do with the food being good? Does the cook get a share of the tips? A lot of restaurants, chefs do make more than wait staff because chefs don't make tips. But I'm going to give extra money to the waitress because the chef did his job well. I don't get it. Now, back to this whole Europe thing. They pay more money. Food costs a little more there. And that is the one argument everyone gives also is if we stop tipping and we force the restaurant to pay higher wages, the restaurant will then have to charge more for the food. And somehow that justifies tipping because we don't want to pay higher prices for the food. We're already paying higher prices for the food. Go into a restaurant, costs $20 for a meal. Pay my $20, pay $3 tip, I've paid $23 for the meal. Tipping's expected. The cost goes up. Go into another restaurant. They're charging higher, but they don't expect a tip. Are they charging $3 more for the same meal? Am I actually saving money? Because like I said, that $3, that can be $60 an hour for the waitress, which is ridiculous. So with tipping, we're still paying more. It's just we have the option of paying more. Again, if tipping is not optional, then just have us pay it all up front. You know, that is the one thing where they say, the 15% gratuity added on. I know in advance what I'm paying in advance. Despite service, despite whatever, I am paying extra money. I know that in advance. I will accept that over go in, eat my meal, be expected to pay money for bad service because it's expected. No. If tipping isn't automatically in there already, then it is optional, 100% optional. There is no minimum tip you should give. It is optional. Want to take away the option? Fine. I go in, I know in advance I'm going to have to pay more for the food. I accept that or I don't. And that's my opinion on tipping. Like I said, we make it seem optional, then turn around and say it's not optional. We say it's to get better service, but you're supposed to give it to whether you get bad service or not. We just need to clear up the air on what tipping is. What's it for? Why is it there? Shouldn't we just do away with it and pay more money to begin with? And that's all. Like I said, this is going to be controversial, especially I know people who grew up waiting tables and relied on tips. And just remember, I'm not saying don't tip. I'm saying change the system to where we don't need tips. The justification for tips is, well, they pay wait staff less. The justification for paying wait staff less is that they get tips. It's a circular argument. Take away, if tips aren't optional, take them away, charge more for the food. The end. And that's it. Goodbye.